Hey, how's it going? I have some cards, but something occurred to me a little while ago, and I've just been kind of thinking about it, and uh, I don't know. I guess I wanted to talk about it. So you know how if you watch the spiritual videos, like the ones about the shift and the solar flash and stuff like that, you notice how some of them talk about getting off the wheel of reincarnation, and like it's a bad thing and it's a trap and it's terrible and you can't get out of it. But then other ones will tell you that you have reincarnated here on purpose a number of times, like a big number of times, a colossal number of times, to be here for those events that I was talking about, the other videos showing about the shift and awakening and kundalini and all things that sort of spring from that stuff. So, which is it? Right? I was talking about this the last video. You have to kind of pay attention to what you're looking at, and you have to think it through a little bit. Like, I have had this situation come up a couple of times recently where I've spent the day looking at stuff, and then I'll see some point that I'm not sure about, and I'll, do my best to look it up, or I'll search around to see how many people are kind of saying the same thing, like getting the same feeling, or, the same idea. And so, I was saying that all of those, like, channeled messages and things that are recorded, I like to watch the Galactic Federation of Light ones, because they too are spiritual in nature and highly informative in very interesting ways. And so they and others have this other sort of, I don't know if it's like another timeline or what, of a movement, the awakening people, the light workers, and the star seeds, that are sort of, one foot in both worlds, or two worlds, but there are more than two. Like I said, all things that spring out from this stuff, like spokes, it's more like fractals, because they just keep going. Like, one gives birth to another, and the same thing happens to another, and another, and another. And it's just like this ongoing, I don't know. I don't have a word to define the concept, but it seems to me like, here's another thing I was talking about in the other one, the last video I made, was that, oh, shoot, come on, you slipped my mind right now. One thing that I was thinking about earlier that I used to say a lot was that I was having to split my brain, because you're in the world that you live in, but you're not, like, you're thinking of it in a different way. And then the more you get involved into and educated in the spiritual stuff, the more that you have to change your perspective, because you know more, or you know what something means with a deeper understanding, or just an understanding that you had no idea was there to be had. And so it does take some, like, study, I guess, but no one's forcing me to do it. Like, I'm just interested, and I like the way that one concept or, story or idea or whatever it is that I come across will lead to something else that's just more interesting stuff. Oh, so, sometimes I'll say something to people and they'll think that a couple of them have even said, well, you can't just look at one thing and think it's the answer. And I'm like, why do people keep assuming that that's what I'm doing? Like I just said, I sit here all day and, I'm thinking about it and I'm taking notes and writing things out so I can, make sense of it. It's not that I'm looking at one thing and going, hey, that's kind of insulting. More people that I have to do. I have to educate that person that they're doing that. Typically, I don't, because I just think, my God, how can you have in-depth conversations with me and think that I am about this deep? Like, I don't know. It's like, it's insulting. Anyway, the other thing, though, so the splitting my brain, it was just like the regular old world that you were living in before your perspective changed, that you're still living in, but it's like not real in a way, but it's as real as anything in another way. But what I'm trying to get at is like, the life that we're living right now, here and now, that, like we're looking at each other, it is sometimes referred to, our world, our lives, as living in the Matrix or living in a simulation. And so, to a degree, in a way, both of those are kind of true, just in the fact that, like, well, you're here, or like, what's the other, that Schwarzenegger movie, I think it was called The Running Man. Oh, I'm talking about the original version. I forgot I'm old and there's probably 2 remakes now, but it was originally a science fiction story. I can't remember the author right now, but it was the guy, he wanted to go on a vacation, and you could go into like basically a virtual world, but it was like more intense, more real, But he could like totally turn it on and off, I think. The one we're in, the off switch is when you pass on. That's how you get in and out. The conventional way. There are other ways that you could do it, like, harder to explain. But like, if you can learn how to go to like the astral plane or remote travel even, but view, I suppose, or I don't know, jump timelines, there are those things, and probably more ways to like have an altered state even as you're in this long playing play pretend, whatever I'm trying to say. But like I said, you're in it and it feels as real as anything that you know, because you feel like it's all you know. There's all these convenient little things like veils of forgetfulness that make you ignorant to things, even though they're things that on some level you know, but you have forgotten, or something like that. So I was kind of like, okay, getting like comfortable with that idea, and like, no, like the idea that before you're born, your whole life is planned out, and with all of the people you'll ever encounter, and all of the circumstances, and I guess all of the potential circumstances, all this stuff is very complicated. And so, it took some adjustment to think, oh, well, that's the thing. But see, I kind of like grew into it when like it gets really heavy and too strange here, and too sad and too dangerous feeling and just scary or whatever. It is comforting to know, like, this ain't really real. So it's like, yeah, you're gonna feel stuff, but that's the point. That is the whole reason you're incarnate, according to what I've learned if, from various sources, but it feels right. Like, I don't know how to explain little things that I can remember over my life that all of a sudden have a corresponding other end to it where it's like, oh, okay. And so many little things have happened like that over the years that I, I don't know. If I got specific, I feel like I would be getting like too personal. So that's enough. You get the idea. But the thing, so I got comfortable with it, like knowing, like, okay, well, whatever horrible things are happening here, at the end of it, that's the end of it, and like it may still be going on here, but that's kind of like when you walk out of an arcade and everybody's still in there playing and the machines are still making noise. You left, but the arcade's still going. It's kind of like that. So anyway, I got comfortable with it, and then today I was just like, I was, and I guess I hadn't made like the other end of that connection until like kind of when I was talking to you right now, and I was like, oh yeah, it does come across as like this terrible trap that you must escape, the reincarnation thing, when in between, and this, I heard this a while ago from Sterling Psychic Medium, and I don't want to misquote him, so he was just talking about this subject, but he confirmed the idea that, like, yeah, you have this pre-life part, and then you come here, and some people remember things, and some people remember nothing, and it's all part of the deal of your coming here. Like, there's definitely what you've signed up for, and so that is a concrete human being that I can see saying that, and then there's like the channeled stuff that confirms those things. So based on that, and then my own sort of sensory equipment that I focused on the things and my life comparisons, like I was saying, like that's a whole process of like an investigative process. So I'm not just like going, oh, it's a thing, and I'll just believe it for the rest of my life, and it's real, and I don't even know where like all of that certainty about a thing that I'm wrong about comes from. Thanks for just doubting me right out of the gate. But people learn. People learn eventually. I mean, I'm not like, oh, I am right, you gotta listen to me, but if it's about me, you kind of do. I'm the authority on me. So anyway, that's the thing that split my brain now, but not really, because I felt like, why does everything have to be scary and to be escaped? And then you ask Sterling about it, and he's like, no, that's not right, that's not true. So I don't know if it's that somebody got scared and they're like, that's the way it is, like they talked about it, and then somebody else thought it sounded good or could relate to the experience, and that became the way of the thing, and that's the end of the story. I think you have to investigate more. I think you have to ask more than like two people. Experience, the range of experience can vary wildly. So, what am I doing with time here? Oh, not too bad. So I just realized I have a yesterday card, but not a today one. I was looking at some things earlier on videos, and there are some disturbing things happening. So I was watching a channeled message, I was watching Jim Charles of Hucolo TV channel Jesus a few weeks ago. And Jesus was saying that, wait, was that where I heard this? Let me retract that. I'm not actually sure if that's where I heard this, but it was Jesus speaking, and he was saying, like, don't be all happy about the aurora borealis, because no one like read the Bible and kept it in their life and understood it. Or I shouldn't say no one, but very many of us. Although I don't know anyone that I've ever known that was like a Bible person that ever talked about these times and understood it to be something like what we're totally going through right now. Like, these are, I guess, and the end times. And so he was upset that like people hadn't kept up with the information, like weren't teaching each other still, and like nobody was understanding what was coming. People were misinterpreting like the seven seals opening as like beautiful natural phenomena. Specifically, he was talking about the aurora borealis and how it's moved from where it used to just be sort of stationary, and it's come way south. And he said it's not just something pretty to look at, it's like literally the gates of hell opening. And we all think hell's under our feet, but you know where the aurora borealis is? I think we made like our own compass, and it has nothing to do with like that kind of compass, because evidently hell's up in the sky and comes out of, there. So what I was watching earlier that was disturbing, but one part of it, I think a lot of people that are into like paranormal stuff will have become familiar with the black-eyed children. And then if you are into like UFO paranormal stuff or UFO lore about the ETs themselves, you will know that there are some black-eyed, like, I think they're like part Nordic and part gray or something. I don't know, but they're humanoid, very human looking actually, but they have black eyes, where ours are white with an iris and pupil and all that. Like, everything's just black and that's the only color. That's disturbing for people. And so, like, the black-eyed children are sort of rumored to come up to your door or your car and try to gain entry to wherever you are. And everyone reports a feeling of dread. Like, people have met them out in the open with no kind of barrier between them. That was a new one on me. I never heard of that one. But I also haven't been, like, totally keeping up on that stuff. But they had in this video I was watching, they were talking about a guy that was out walking his dog, and a little girl, like a little more than a toddler, it looked like, they did like an animation, but from the size differential between her and the man, she looked to be about 3 or 4 or somewhere in that area, like really young kid. And she like actually like grabbed his coat, and I was thinking, you don't want him to touch you, because one thing that's sort of universal that the experiencers of those say is you want to run. It's frightening. I don't know why I'm laughing, because I've been really scared by something like that. Not that, but something like it. And it's not humorous at all. Like, you are not laughing. You're not nervous laughing. If you snap, you might hysterically laugh. Like, it's scary. It's scarier than almost getting in a car wreck, or it's scarier than getting in a car wreck. It's scarier than, I don't know, whatever you can imagine. Whatever has happened already in your life, it's scarier than that. I don't know how to explain it, except your whole body knows. Like if you watch the ghost shows, they talk about your hairs coming up on your arms. I wasn't paying attention to that because it was like in my body, like next to my spine, but on this side, like not even on the outside, on face of the skin, like under the skin, on this side of the spine with me. It was like bad. You get nightmares, and you don't feel normal till you absolutely just leave the premises. It's not good. So more prevalence of that type of thing. And then there was another one that was talking about people that get really mad and get black eyes. All black eyes, you might have heard of that before. it's but see, it's not new, these things. Like, I remember wondering what the devil is going on in Florida, where they're having all these guys that were like zombies. So they had taken some kind of drug, I guess, and they couldn't be killed. They were doing like superhuman feats of strength and leaping tall building, like fences and stuff. Like, are you serious with this? But it was real. And the people saying it, like these officers and things, like, those guys probably lost their careers behind that stuff and are probably still freaked out. And I don't know, man. Like, you just want to move. You want to get as far away as possible from, like, where it happened to you. At least that's been my experience. There's been, like, a public announcement that there's enough of an unusual number of exorcisms needing to be performed across the world that they're like, the public announcement was to, like, I guess, recruit priests to work on it. And the cardinal that came out and talked about it was like, everybody, hi, those things we talked about in the Bible are, like, happening now. Everybody's got to, like, well, you talked about everyone praying and returning to your faith. Sorry, I don't know if I'm going to burp or not. But, basically putting the word out there, like, the evil is on the loose. And so, and when did I see the Florida drug zombie guys start to happen? That had to be, like, at least a decade ago. So, like, it's just been creeping up and up. Crime goes up and down. We have waves of drug addiction. Like, I always think that's, like, evil, having a wave or whatever. I don't know, it's freaky. So I don't know, I just feel like we're sort of conditioned to mock things like that, and then when people mock you, you get embarrassed and you don't want to keep saying it, and the people mocking you, like, I don't know what they're thinking. Maybe they've had experiences of their own, or maybe they've heard things and they're still like, haha, you're scared of this thing. And it's like, I don't think that's what we should be doing right now, like, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm not, like, an evangelist. I don't know how to tell people, like, hey, you better, like, get right with God. But I guess that's it. You better get right with God, or else these things are going to have access to you. And I'm telling you, you do not want them in there next to your spine. You do not want them in there with you. It is no fun. Oh, entertainment purposes. Opinion commentary, that's what this here is. You can certainly, like, don't take it to the bank. It's just my opinion. Alright, are you gonna see? This is why I shuffle off camera. I was doing this and nothing's coming out. Can I have a card, please? Time's a waste. I think I'll just take one. Let me just give him a cut. Alright. I know, I said I was gonna take one. Okay, so those were the things I had on my mind. But, I mean, what do you think about the reincarnation thing? Are you, like, is it a trap, or do you think that you can just come back at will? Because that is what Sterling and Cryon and many others have said. So it doesn't seem like reincarnation is too terrible a thing now. To me, I don't know. I guess I never thought it was terrible, except for, like, you just keep coming back. You keep coming back here to this. Just kidding. I like it here. Okay, so I have a yesterday and today. Not bad. We've got number 6, and I'm not gonna mess with numbers right now. It reads, honor and respect in love. Honor and respect. Honor and respect and love the partner you reflect in God's grace, for they are the kingdom of love, as are you. Wow, I mean, that is very anti-Hell's Gates. So I think that is what your armory is, your weapons are against that type of thing. Because, yes, I think evil doesn't know what to do with love. I think he gets very confused. What if you tried to love it? It would probably just get all freaked out. Anyway, next card is 49. Yeah, I'm sorry. Blanked out for a second. I'm not going to do numbers. Seek freedom that is not bound to churches that rule the world. Seek freedom that is not bound to churches that rule the world, the minds of the people, and their pocketbooks. So, speaking of evangelists, televangelists are the ones that try to steal your mind and your pocketbook, and they're very successful. You know, I'm very conscious lately of the idea that circuitry is basically some kind of like demonic thing. The idea was introduced to me, but the behavior of the devices sometimes lately is very strange. Like I'll be watching something and it'll be like really uplifting and I'll be like very into it, and there will be an intensity, because especially if they're talking about like anti-evil things, like good things that will repel that and send it running, my thing will shut off if I'm enjoying it. And the thing about that is I don't know if it's me that did it, because if I'm getting intense, I've been known to blow up light bulbs, and I destroyed a computer just like being in proximity with it, because if I get, I don't know, wound up or worked up or intense, sometimes I affect the electronics, so I don't know. It hasn't been happening as much, but it just really depends on like the emotional weather in the situation, whether I'm going to do that or not. So these cards are talking about loving and honoring your partner. And when you have a romantic partner, there is, I know at least at the very beginning, there is a time when you're like gazing into each other's eyes and like devouring each other with your eyes, and that I think is a time when you're sort of reflecting each other. You're certainly reflecting each other's what is the word? Interest in each other. Every other word that I thought of is not suitable for television or whatever, or work, whatever. But you can find that, like, as a person who kind of like kept having the same like not great experience with romantic relationships. It was only after I like just became not so needy for something and someone outside of myself, and just I think I found it when I got comfortable with myself in the same way I got comfortable with myself with the other thing I was talking about before, with the splitting my mind and just having to make adjustments and change the perspective. And maybe that's the most unsettling thing, like the change, yeah, but the changing of your perspective, that might be the thing that freaks us out the most. That just occurred to me. But yeah, even like the twin flame thing, that is, those two sides, inside of you and outside of you, with two individuals, they don't resolve until you have a wholeness with yourself, a confidence, and again, you don't need really anybody else on the outside. You've already got everything you need on board. You just have to, I just had to learn to realize that, and then that's when things became more successful for me. And that was well, that was like hard. It was, the heartbreak was heartbreaking, but the fact that it kept happening the same way over and over, even if I didn't want it to, that was heartbreaking. So it's good to be out of that. That is a cycle that is unpleasant. That is one you don't want to be stuck in. And then this one is talking about, I think it's talking about faith, but unadulterated by like somebody's profit margin or, campaign of influence to, and some of the guys that you see on TV, or clips, I should say, on YouTube that I've seen, of the way these people, these like pastors or whatever, ministers, I don't know what their designation is exactly, but they're just like berating their congregation and talking to them like they're bad dogs or something. It's like, good grief. that is not the kind of faith leader that I want. I would rather do it myself. Like, I wouldn't abuse myself in that way for sure, and it would be more about like, what the gift would be? Would be like the companionship, the hanging out with the congregation that you actually want to be with. And it doesn't have to be, I don't know why that Crystal Cathedral has been on my mind all day, and like big edifices that get built for, it's the house of worship, but it was like the Crystal Cathedral, and this pastor, if I recall, was already in the money, and he was like talking about it for a long time, because that was when my mom was sick and she was watching those Sunday shows. And this guy for months and months and months was running a fundraiser, like a tithing, like, we got to build this Crystal Cathedral. And he's like talking it up, and none of it sounded good to me. I was like, that sounds like I don't care about any of that. That's a waste of money. Just do it in the church you already have. Put mirrors on the outside of it. That's probably something bad, but the Crystal Cathedral was like, I don't think the whole thing was see-through, but it was very reflective. I know that. And then it no longer exists anymore. Like, I think it was like abandoned or some tax thing. They couldn't keep it. The guy died. I don't know. It was, when was that? I was like, I don't know, late 70s, 80s, that I would have been seeing that about that cathedral. I don't know, but it was just like this big boondoggle, I thought. And I couldn't help but thinking of all that money those people were sending these people, all these different ones. And where does it say in the Bible that you can pay for God's love, that you pay for any of the stuff? Like, you can't pay for God to like heal your sick whoever with cancer. Like, I think that's what motivates people to pay. They're so desperate and they've exhausted like every option of their own, that and they're, I don't know, people of faith, so they go to their church. But those churches are not very giving. They're very taking, but they're giving you a lot of earful. They're giving you a lot of performance, but all I really saw them was asking for money and building all this stuff that Well, it's not funny. They personally were enjoying. They weren't having like the stuff. I don't know. There's a lot of different ones, so different stories. But hold on. A lot of, I think, greed involved. All right, so I have some crystal gem. I mean, some gemstone whisper cards here. I only wanted 3, but 2 stuck together, so I got, oh shoot, I got 5. All right, well, oh. Okay, so the first card is Amazonite. This the stone. And the subtitle is Truth. But better to get hurt by the whole truth than comforted. Oh. I was wanting to read confronted, but it really is comforted. But better to get hurt by the truth than comforted with a lie. That sounds so much like that church, you know. Let me just pay you some money to tell me comforting lies. Then I'm sorry, I don't know that they amounted to much for people, but I don't know. Faith healing has as much to do with the person receiving the healing as it does with the healer. Like spontaneous healing, that actually happens a lot in like a dire surgical situation where no one expects you to survive, but then you do. And I was going to say you do it yourself, but you don't do it alone. You do it with the help of spirit. Anyway, the next card is Morganite. This is pinky crystal, or actually I don't know if it's pinky since it looks like it's sitting on something pink. I think that may have been maybe not the greatest idea on this card design, but hey, I wasn't there. Nobody asked me. So the subtitle on this one is Love. If you have somebody, let them go. For if they return, they were always yours. If they don't, they never were. Okay, that's a good maxim to have in mind. I guess, I mean, that's just sort of elementary relationship stuff. It doesn't even, I don't think, have to be romantic, because I think that, when we get, well, it's not just when we're older, but I think that if we are lonesome for friends, and it's been a while, we can be a little bit scary, a little bit clingy, a little too fast for people. I don't know. Okay, next card is the Regent Diamond. Oh, look at this big giant crystal. And the subtitle is Arrogance. Why am I thinking of that cathedral now? Oh, the cleverness of me. Okay, well, you know, he talked up this thing like it was gonna, I don't know, like it was gonna be this magical thing, like it was gonna heal the world or something, or heal people in the 20-mile radius. So, I don't know. I don't know, like, I remember it opened. I don't know that I ever heard the reaction of the people that attended it, but it did just recently go out of business. Like last year, not too long ago, maybe months ago. I don't know. I'm bad with time since I don't have a job. I don't keep track of it well. I don't have a job and I no longer have television, so now I don't know what time it is or what day it is unless I have an appointment. Okay, this card is hard to read. Argent Aragonite. And the subtitle is Change. Aragonite. Well, it sure looks like what it is. It looks like it looks a lot like a crystal. Maybe a underwater plant or something. Anyway, the subtitle is Change. Be the change that you wish to see in the world. Yeah, let's all do that. I'm serious. I'm not joking. It's up to us that want to make the changes, and it's unfortunately gotten to the point where it's going to take more than voting. It's going to take some all hands on deck, all hands in hand, at hand. Like, it's got to be like a lot of contributions from everybody that can. And when I say it, well, I'm just talking about in terms of the United States, but some things like climate change and like the plastic particle cleanup and stuff like that are going to require like the help of everyone involved because it's affected everyone. Okay, last card. Hematite. Speaking of black eyes, subtitle on this card is Devil. We can't, I don't think it matters, like, what you believe as far as religion is concerned. There is something we all refer to as the devil that has its own forces that we refer to as demons. And we've all seen people act crazy, especially lately, like them ice people. That violence and rage that they have is not normal. That's like the darkness on them. You can see it in their eyes. If their eyes turn from regular human and then black when they get super angry. And that's not a new thing either. Like the black-eyed children, but I've also seen like lots of sort of bad relationship shows, even like Snapped or something like that on Oxygen, which is all about women that sort of snap on their men for whatever reason. But those relationships are the ones where you hear, well, there's DV, right? And so somebody's getting really mad, like the man will be getting so angry that their eyes will turn black, and that's a level of anger that's above, I guess if hell is up, above human, above and beyond human. Anyway, hell is empty and the devils are all here. I was just saying. The gates opened and they fell down here, but the influence has been reverberating, like I said, or it's just always been here to a degree, and unfortunately, we haven't kept up with what the Bible is saying, and sounding all holy roller again, but if there's something in there that we need to know, I'm saying it like I've never looked at it. If there's something in there that we need to know that's going to help us in this predicament with these things, well, it did say it. Like, we got away from a lot of the ways that we used to be a long time ago. And I mean, maybe as a long time ago as like the 50s or thousands of years ago, because we continually evolve and change and progress, but there are certain things that are never going to change, and we have to factor that stuff in. Like, I think that we've just left everything to, like, well, we'll deal with it later, but also, like, okay, can't pay attention to that, gotta watch television, gotta work all the time, so I don't want to, like, do anything, I don't want to get into, like, my theories on why we're kind of messed up, but, there is definitely an influence there that, will talk you out of doing the right thing, or some sort of circumstances, atmospheric, emotional, I don't know what it is, but like I was talking about last time, remembering everyone that I feel like I've wronged that I can remember has made me remember a lot of stuff that I forgot, and made me have to think about myself in not the most pleasant ways, always, but nothing too terrible. I mean, I'm not gonna have to seek help with a therapist after, but it's been like it's been an interesting experience. I actually I'm glad I started doing it, because then I can reflect and better understand myself, but then also like come to terms with how I felt in those situations. And part of reflecting on it is reflecting on, like, oh, I probably made this person feel this way, or that was a bad thing to do because now they're gonna feel like this, which I didn't really think of too hard at the time. I should have, probably would have prevented me from having done whatever it was, but you live and you learn. Thank you and good night. Oh.